Good afternoon. My name is Specialist Soto. Today I will be giving a lesson on how to determine grid azimuth using a protractor. Today's lesson, it isn't classified. The overall score for today's risk assessment is low. As you can see, we're in a closed environment, so we just have to be aware of the emergency exits. We have some power outlets, some electronic devices that we have to be aware of, right? Also, dehydration, it is a risk factor. So keep you guys hydrated, but don't drink right next to the power outlets or electronic devices. We don't want to cause any damage to property or worse, an emergency. We have a signing sheet. Please sign the signing sheet so we can have an accountability of who has taken this course. Right? For today, we're gonna use Protractor. We're gonna use a pencil. We're gonna use a military map. We're gonna use paper. So those are the tools we're gonna use today. Please be accounted for it, right? Don't lose it. Don't damage it because other classes are gonna use it. So now we're gonna step in, right? We're gonna have a motivational situation, right? Let's say that we're members of a DAR team, and one of the AH-64 Echoes that we work on has had a mechanic failure. Our leader has given us the task of retrieving the crew members and see if we can save the aircraft. He has given you the coordinates of the location in where the aircraft has made the emergency landing, but also he has given us the coordinates in where we are. So now, using both coordinates, you have to plot the 2 points, right? So now the question is, now that you have the 2 points, how do you determine grid azimuth using a map, a protractor, a pencil, and a piece of paper? So today's task, it is determine grid azimuth using a protractor. The task number, it is 071- Charlie Oscar Mike -0018. The conditions: you're a member of a squad or team that has received an order requiring movement. You have been directed to determine the grid azimuth from the starting point and ending point designated in the order. You have a 1/50,000 scale military map, a military protractor, a pencil, and a paper. Some iterations of this task should be performed under Mike Oscar Papa 4. So the standards: we're going to identify the starting point and ending point on the map. We're going to draw a straight line connecting both points. We're going to align the protractor to the map and determine the value of the angle, right, of that line. So now let's go into the safety, environmental, and security considerations. Security: we are in a closed environment, right? So this is pretty safe. We don't have any weather problems right? So we are good here. For environment, I'm going to read this from the STP. Environmental protection is not just a law, but the right thing to do. It is a continual training and missions. In doing so, you will contribute to the sustainment of our training resources while protecting people and the environment from harmful effects. So we can refer to the current ATP 3-34.5 Environmental Considerations Manual and the current GTA 05-08-002, that is the Environmental Related Risk Assessment card. For the safety, I have given you guys a risk assessment. Let's say it again. We have to be aware of the emergency exits. You have to be aware of the power outlets, the electronic devices, right? So we don't damage it or we can cause an emergency, right? Also, dehydration, it is a risk factor. So please keep hydrated, but don't drink right next to the power outlet or the electronic devices. We don't want to cause a power shortage or, you know, like something burning or even an emergency. So I'm going to teach you guys today how to do this task. After I teach you guys, we're gonna do an evaluation. So immediately following the training, you guys were gonna be evaluated on an individual basis. In order to receive an overall goal for the task, you must receive a goal on each performance step evaluated. This task has 5 steps, right? 5 performance steps that we have to evaluate you guys on. You'll be evaluated one at a time in this room. If you receive a no goal, you will have one chance to be retrained and reevaluated on this task. So now we're gonna go into the instructional lead-in. In order to travel from point alpha to point bravo, using a map, you need to determine the grid azimuth from point alpha to point bravo using a military protractor. This class will teach how to determine grid azimuth on a map using a protractor. I will demonstrate the task at full speed, right? How do you do it in real life? Followed then by a step-by-step explanation. After that, hey, you will have time. I will give you guys some time to practice this task to standard before we begin the evaluations. So now, let's start by demonstrating the task to standard. First, what we need is the protractor. Before I teach you guys, right, how to determine point A and point B, I need to teach you guys how to align this protractor correctly so you have a correct reading. So, when you are using a protractor, you have to make sure that it is facing the right way, right? That it is correct. So, how do you determine this? As you can see, right, we have some degrees, some inner degrees right here. Those degrees are the ones that are going to determine your grid azimuth. So on the protractor, you have some grids on the outer side. You're not going to look at that. You're going to look in the inner side. Also, to determine if it's right, you're going to look at those degrees and you're going to see that the 360, it's pointing north. So as you can see, it is pointing north. So that is good. We're on the right way. Also, how do you determine if it's still right? So now you're going to see that the 90 degrees is pointing east, right? Facing to your right side. So as you can see, 360 on the top, 90 on the right. So the protractor, it is correct. So now, first step to determine a grid azimuth. You're gonna find your point alpha. So let's find the point alpha. Boom. There we go. We have found point alpha. Second step, we're gonna find point bravo. So we're gonna have given us point bravo, right? Where the emergency landing has been made, right? So we have found it. So we're gonna designate it Bravo. So now that we have our 2 points, right? We have point alpha, point Bravo. We're gonna draw a line that crosses both points. Now, both lines, you have to make sure that they go past those 2 points. So it's gonna be 2 lines that are extended. We're gonna extend them. There we go. Lines that are extended. After you have done your line, right, you're gonna align your protractor to the map. If you guys can see, this hole in the middle, it's called the index. You're gonna put the index on top of that point alpha, your point of origin. Okay, when you're reading grid azimuth, you always have to read it from your point of origin. If you start from the ending point, right, the reading is gonna be wrong. It's gonna be 180 degrees wrong. And in real life, right, when you try to go get that aircraft, you're gonna be walking the opposite side. You don't want that. So, index, we're gonna put it on alpha. There we go. Okay, now that we have that, right, we have to adjust the protractor that the line, right, that the horizontal lines and the protractor are aligned, so it is straight. Okay, there we go. So we have done it, and at the end, the last step, it is gonna be read the grid. Remember, you're always gonna read the inner degrees. Don't read the outer ones on the protractor, because if not, it's gonna be inaccurate. Okay, so we have it here, and we have that the degrees, right, it is 20 degrees. So we have found the great azimuth using a protractor. So now I'm gonna teach you guys how to do this step by step. I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use the instructions that are on the STP. You guys don't mind? Okay. So step by steps. First, we're gonna identify starting point A on the map. Point alpha, the point of what? Of origin. Protractor again. Boom. We found point alpha. Second step, you're gonna identify the ending point where that aircraft is, where you are going. Right? So point B, point Bravo. We identify point Bravo. Okay, there's a note, when measuring azimuths on a map, remember that you are measuring from a starting point to an ending point. If a mistake is made and the reading is taken from the ending point, the great azimuth will be 180 degrees off, thus causing the user to go into the wrong direction. This brings us to our third step. We're going to draw a straight line, right, on the map that it's going to connect the 2 points. But there's a note: to ensure an accurate measurement, the line should be extend past the starting point and ending point. That's what I told you guys. So now we're gonna draw the line, right, that are gonna cross the 2 points, but they have to go past those 2 points, right? So it's gonna be a long line. There we go. We did it. Okay. So the fourth step. We're going to align the protractor to the map. When using the protractor, the baseline is always oriented parallel to a north-south grid line. The 0 or 360 degree mark is always toward the top or north on the map, and the 90 degree mark is to the right, to the east side. Right? So the grid azimuth is the degrees Mills value where the azimuth line crosses the protractor scale. So we're gonna first place the index of the protractor at the point where the draw line crosses a vertical north-south grid line. All right, so you're gonna put that index on a grid line. Then you're gonna align the 0 to 180 degree line on the protractor on the vertical grid line while keeping the index in position. So that is how you make sure that your protractor, it is aligned, so it is not like tilted to the side, because if it's tilted, it's going to show you a wrong reading. Okay, so it brings us to the fifth step. Determine the value of the angle, great azimuth, from the scale. The great azimuth is the degrees Mills value where the azimuth line crosses the protractor. Identify where the line crosses the protractor scale. Read the value where the line intersects with the scale. This value, it is the great azimuth. So you align the protractor, all right, as it says. You align that protractor, the index where it's supposed to go, right? Point alpha. But first, you're gonna make sure that it is straight. You make sure it is straight. It is straight. And now you're gonna do the reading. You're gonna read those inner degrees. And we have again 20 degrees. now guys, I have shown you how to do this step by step. So team, now that I have shown you how to do this task, right, at full speed and step by step, now I'm gonna have you guys practice this task. I will not give you time to practice. While you practice, I will walk around to ensure you're performing the task correctly to standard. Hey, if you have any questions, right, I will be gladly to answer your questions. I will walk around and make on-spot corrections during practice time to ensure that you guys are performing this task correctly. Also, I'm going to ensure that hazard controls measures are being implemented and that the safety procedures are being followed. Okay, so now let's do an assessment of the training. So, today's task, it is determine grid azimuth using a protractor. The task number, it is 071-Charlie Oscar Mike-0018. The conditions, you're a member of a squad or team that has received an order requiring movement. You have been directed to determine the grid azimuth from the starting point and ending point designated in the order. You have a 1 by 50,000 scale military map, a military protractor, a pencil, and a paper. Some iterations of this task should be performed in Mike Oscar Papa 4. So the standards, we're going to identify the starting point and ending point on the map, Alpha and Bravo. Right? After that, we're going to draw a straight line on the map connecting the 2 points. Remember, extend that line. Align the protractor to the map and determine the value of the angle. So now that I have told you guys, right, what is the task, now we're going to go to the review performance measures. How am I going to evaluate you guys? So, first, this is right straight from the STP 21-1. So, the first step that we are going to evaluate, it is that you guys could identify the starting point on the map, point alpha. Second, that you guys identify the ending point on the map, point Bravo. That you guys drew a straight line on the map connecting both points. After that, the fourth step that we're going to evaluate is that you guys could align the protractor to the map. And the last step that we're going to evaluate is that you guys could determine the value of the angle, that you guys determine what was the grid azimuth. So, for a brief, okay, let's start with the situation. Let's say the same thing, right? We are members of a DART team, and one of the AH-64 Echoes that we work on has had a mechanic failure. Our leader has given us this task of retrieving the crew members and see if we can put that aircraft back in the air. He has given us the coordinates not only of the down aircraft, but also the coordinates of where we are. So he has given us point Alpha and point Bravo. Now with this information, right, we're gonna, like with the tools I gave you, that it was the map, the pencil, the protractor, and the paper, you guys are gonna determine the grid azimuth so we can actually get to that down aircraft. So for today's evaluation, we are gonna use a 5164 Romeo, and it's a hands-on evaluation, right? Like the one that I have here. I will be evaluating you guys on the 5 steps that we talked about. Hey, if you receive a pass on every single step, hey, you have a goal in this class. So, now it is time for you guys to do this task. So I'm gonna observe each soldier. Remember, it is individual. So, please do this correctly. And I'll be evaluating you guys. So now, for the evaluation. Okay. So we have PB2 del Pueblo Juan. So this is his evaluation, right? Okay. You see the pass. So he has completed the 5 steps correctly. So that means he's a go. So now we have recorded the results of the soldiers. All right. Okay. So at this time, we have finished the evaluations. Thank God, everybody passed. Nobody had to be retrained or be evaluated in this task. So that means that we have completed this task correctly. And I'm proud of you guys. Okay? So, the task proficiency for this block of instructions for this training is that you guys are trained. Okay, so now, as I said, nobody had to be retrained or reevaluated. So that means that we did our work. You guys are now trained in how to determine the great azimuth on a map. So now we're gonna go with the closeout training. With the permission of the SGLs, we would like to start closing out the training. We have completed our task. You guys have completed this task proficiently. Okay, so we have received the goal for the closeout training. Now, soldiers, accountability of your equipment, right? We don't want any damaged items, any lost items. So now, we need the map, we need the protractor, we need the pencil, we need the paper. So please pass it forward. Now that we have completed this lesson, it is time to conduct an AAR, an after action review. So, we're gonna discuss what was supposed to happen, what actually happened, what went right, what went wrong, how can the training be improved. So now we're gonna do a review of the risk assessments. Today in this course, the risk assessment, it was completed successfully. We didn't have any emergencies, right? We didn't damage any electronic devices. We didn't have any situations with the power outlets and liquids. So that means that the risk assessment was completed successfully, all right? So soldiers, at this time, we're gonna conduct a final inspection. We're going to make sure that everything's clean. We're gonna make a police call. Remember, this area, we use it constantly for training, so we have to keep it in good condition. So now we have conducted our police call. So now, with the permission of the SGLs, we're gonna close out the training site. Everything is good, everything is accounted for. We have our tools for today, right? We got our protractors, our maps, our paper, our pencils. So we are good. We have completed the closeout of our training site. So, SGLs, today we have made a lesson for the team. It is to determine the great azimuth on a map using a military protractor. The results of today's team, they are the evaluation, right? It is trained. So we have completed successfully our task. We have trained our soldiers and they are capable of determining the great azimuth on a military map using a protractor. So SGLs, thank you for your attention.